Welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report today for June the 2nd of 2020. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams, and this is a daily gaming news podcast meant to bring you the hottest news you need to know from around the industry. Hosted on YouTube and podcast services around the world 5 days a week, it is your one-stop shop for everything you need to know in the world of gaming. And today we're talking about the mobile space, because Epic wants to bring the Epic Games Store to Android and iOS. Epic Games boss Tim Sweeney has revealed that the Epic Games Store is coming to Android, and he hopes to bring it to iOS. The CEO told GameSpot that it wants to bring the same philosophy of developer freedom to mobile. Quote, "We would like to bring the Epic Games Store to iOS in the future, and we will bring it to Android," said Sweeney. "We think it's a good way to help the industry move forward, and it's another way where Epic, as a game developer, had built up this audience around Fortnite and learned how to operate a distribution platform on PC and Android. Now, as we have done with many things from the Unreal Engine to the Epic Online services, we open it up to all other developers to use with their games and are trying to serve the industry and provide a really interesting alternative to the ecosystem," he added. Indeed, the Fortnite Android launcher is now simply called the Epic Games app. Android specifically does allow for third-party operated stores to exist on the platform. Amazon, Samsung, and many other companies have their own separate stores on Android, something you cannot do on iOS. Of course, they go on to say it would make sense for Epic to embrace an Epic Games Store on mobile, and I agree with that, but I think there are going to be a lot of hurdles to jump over to make that a reality, especially when it comes to iOS. As the article mentions, Android storefronts outside of Google Play are already a reality. I've been using them since I was probably 10 or 11 whenever I have some kind of Android device, and that is a very convenient reality because Android is so open and so free. You can do basically whatever you want within the realm of reason in the world of Android. Now, iOS, the experience is much more curated, it's much more simplified, and it's much more controlled by the team over there at Apple that likes to make sure that they have their hand on top of anything that is accessible in their ecosystem of devices. And both are okay options to approaches to mobile devices. You can have an iron fist that reigns over your space, as we see with Apple, or you can allow developers and allow people to poke around and see what they can do in the world of Android. And so I think that we're going to be seeing those two kind of butt heads over the course of the next few months as this becomes a reality. But my other question is, what is the plan for Epic in the long game? Of course, as the article says, they want to make their services ubiquitous across the board. But in terms of gaining players and gaining attention, how do you draw mobile players away from the App Store on iOS and towards the Epic Games storefront? Do you transform the Fortnite launcher into the Epic Games Store and you just pretty much transition your entire Fortnite player base on mobile over to being users of the Epic Games Store? And then how do you get them to spend money? Additionally, do you incentivize people to come over by offering free games, and is that tactic still going to work as compared to what has happened in the PC gaming space, where the Epic Games Store has generated a lot of action over the course of the past year or two? It's generated a lot more favor than it originally set out with by giving away free games and by consistently and constantly improving its services. Can that be replicated in the mobile space? It could, but mobile gamers are much different from PC gamers. You have mobile gamers who just want something to play in their downtime throughout their day, and you have PC gamers that are looking to spend hours upon hours playing giant experiences. So, very interesting setup we have here, but I'm excited to see what the world of mobile brings, because I think that in a combination of the storefronts and the experiences that are being created for mobile and increased power in the mobile space, you certainly have a lot of potential to make some very impressive experiences, many of which we have already seen. But moving on, Activision temporarily pauses the new Call of Duty seasons, saying now is not the time. Activision has officially announced that the new seasons of Modern Warfare, Warzone, and Call of Duty Mobile have been delayed to an unspecified later date, explaining in a Twitter post that, quote, now is not the time, and that right now, quote, it's time for those speaking up for equality, justice, and change to be seen and heard. The statement relates to ongoing protests in the U.S. and around the world following the alleged murder of George Floyd by police officer Derek Chauvin in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Other companies have taken a similar position with their forthcoming launches. Sony has delayed its PlayStation 5 event, for example, while Electronic Arts has postponed its Madden NFL 21 announcement. Season 4 of Modern Warfare and Warzone were set to begin across platforms on June 3rd, with the new mobile season slated to begin at the end of the week. Players can expect a new battle pass, multiplayer maps, weapons, and more when it does release, but a new start date has not yet been announced. This is unequivocally the right move to make. As I said on yesterday's show, you don't want Modern Warfare to be trending alongside other hashtags, other statements, other voices that need to be heard more than the new Call of Duty season. It just simply is the right move to make in the current state of affairs. On top of that, from a marketing department standpoint, this is a very difficult situation to traverse, and if you are in the shoes of the team at Activision, you don't want Modern Warfare to be trending alongside a lot of the news that you see trending in today's day and age. That simply is a hashtag that could fit into the game, or it could fit into society. It's an iffy time right now in general, but more than anything, it is good to see that companies are taking the moment to acknowledge, hey, as much as I am excited about the new season of Call of Duty, as much as I am excited about the PlayStation 5, and as much as I am excited about stuff like IGN Summer of Gaming, which we'll talk about more in a moment, it is good to see that they are saying, hey, we'll do that next week or the following week, whenever we can. Right now is not the time. And IGN made that same statement. IGN has postponed the launch of its Summer of Gaming 2020 main events from its previously planned June 4th to June 8th, out of respect for and in support of those rightfully demanding justice and change. An updated schedule has yet to be announced. The full statement from IGN reads as follows, quote, "We stand in solidarity with the black community and condemn racism. Out of respect for and in support of those rightfully demanding justice and change across the United States and the world, IGN will be delaying the launch of its Summer of Gaming main events until June 8th. Today, IGN is participating in Blackout Tuesday, a day of reflection, action, and commitment to meaningful change. IGN will be driving donations to support the NAACP Legal Defense Fund, an organization that supports legal action and long-term change, including on our daily live news show, NG+. Our sister company, Humble Bundle, has announced a $1 million fund dedicated to helping publish games by black developers. That is a start, but we are committed to driving long-term change. We will have more updates on how we will continue to support the fight for justice," end quote. Again, as I said with the Activision delay of Call of Duty, good move here to show support, to explain the moves that are going to be made, and to show how you are supporting those in the gaming community specifically that normally might have a more difficult time getting their voices heard. Good move, awesome move, and it doesn't take away from my excitement around Summer of Gaming. I'm still just as pumped for this event as I was the day it was announced. So June the 8th is when you can expect to see the IGN Summer of Gaming, but until then, I suppose we will have to wait. And waiting we shall, because Cyberpunk 2077 was supposed to have the Night City Wire, but it has been postponed to June 25th. At Cyberpunk Game on Twitter says, and I quote, "We decided to move Night City Wire to June 25th. We still look forward to sharing new information about CP77, but more important discussions are happening right now, and we want them to be heard. We wholeheartedly stand against racism, intolerance, and violence. Black Lives Matter," end quote. And so we have yet another delay, and yet again, this is another situation in which I say this is perfectly fine. The game doesn't come out until September. There is plenty of time between now and then. Again, more important information needs to be shared right now, and you certainly don't want to see Cyberpunk 2077 trending whenever we have this giant social unrest filled with movements and protest. It just wouldn't be a good look, and it wouldn't be a good look for Cyberpunk, for the gaming community, and it certainly isn't something that needs to be raised above the movement that's happening right now. So, again, June 25th, you can look forward to Night City Wire, but until then, they're allowing more important voices to be heard during the current state of affairs. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed this one, drop me a like down below and let me know what you think about everything we talked about on today's show. And especially, how do you feel about Epic coming to the mobile devices? Are you going to play games on mobile devices that you might be able to get on the App Store or on Google Play? And you just simply choose to go with Epic Games. Would love to see how you feel about that one. But until next time, you guys have a fantastic rest of your night. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.